Good morning, welcome back. We're going to continue with Chapter 7, the recommended order. Begin with the lab, get some hands-on exercise, then go do the reading for Chapter 7, learn the theory behind it, and then finally do the chapter exam. And just like we did for Chapter 5, I will give you a test either at the end of the day or first thing Saturday morning when we meet again. So let's take a look at Chapter 7. Chapter 7, we're exploring the Linux hierarchy or the Linux tree. Some people call it a tree. I prefer hierarchy because this doesn't really look like a tree. Now, before we look at how it's done in Linux, let's take a look and see how it works in Windows. So in Windows, every drive or device has a drive letter, and underneath it you have the top level directories, Windows, root, whatever the case may be. Let's go ahead and look at this right now. Okay, so there's the C drive, and there is Windows. I can drill down, and underneath that I can find System32, and I'm going to keep going here and locate the file that is responsible for Notepad, and it happens to be called notepad.exe, and there it is. So watch what I do here. I'm going to bring up the properties for that file, and I'm going to right click and copy that location. Okay, in Linux we call it a path or a location. I'm going to copy it right into Notepad so we can see exactly what it is. So you can think of a path as an address. How do I locate notepad.exe on a Windows system? I have to start at my C drive, and then I go to Windows, and then I go to System32, and then I found it. But there is one little subtlety here that might not be so obvious. Let me delete all this stuff here, the Windows stuff, and let me delete the C drive, and I have this backslash. That backslash is a directory as well. It is the top level directory, and we call it root. Now, when we go to Linux, we also have a root, but the difference is that root will be designated with a /, not a backslash. So that's what root would be in Linux, and there is no C drive, D drive. There are no drive letters. We just have root. So let's take a look at what it looks like in Linux. So there it is. We're starting at the top. That's called root. We have these top level directories, and you can locate everything in a Linux system by specifying the path or the location of a file or directory. Let's take a closer look at it. So here it is right at the top, and you can see these top level directories, and as we go through the course we're going to be examining the content of each of these directories. So for example, in bin we find binary files, in dev we find device files, etc configuration files, and so on. So it's not that important that you know what's in there for now. Just know how to get there and know that they exist. Now, there are two ways to specify a path name. It can either be relative or it can be absolute. Let's start with absolute. Absolute means we're specifying the path to an object with starting right at the root, right at the /. Okay, so where is the main directory located? Well, it's in a subdirectory of desktop, which is a subdirectory of John, which is a subdirectory of home, which is a subdirectory of the top level directory or root. Okay, so if it starts with a /, it's absolute. You're starting at the top. Everything else is relative. Let's look at some examples. Change directory may, and we're going to do this. What's going to happen is Linux is going to look for a directory called may, and go there. And if it's in the current directory, it will switch. If there is no main directory currently in your current location, you'll get an error message. The next command does the exact same thing, but it looks a little bit different. It starts with a dot and a /. Dot means current directory. So from the current directory, look for a subdirectory called May. 2 dots means one directory up. So go up one directory and then look down for a directory called May. And the next one is very similar, but we're going to go up 2 directories in our hierarchy, look down and see if there's another directory called May, and we're going to change to it. And in the last case, we have a tilde. The tilde again represents our home directory. So this means go to your home directory, then look for a directory called May. All of these are relative path names or relative paths because they don't begin with a /. And the only one here that is absolute is the first one. So based on what we know so far, I think we can maybe begin doing the labs. So my recommendation, start with the lab and then come back and do the reading, get the theory, which is very important. So let's begin the labs. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see everything that's going in there. So section 7.2. Okay, so it's warning you about case. It's case sensitive, big letters and small letters. They mean different things. So I think we've encountered that. 7.2.1. Okay. We saw the pwd command. So a lot of this is going to be review for you. You can see your current location, but this here is interesting. Look at this. We have another environment variable that we haven't seen yet, and that is the environment variable that remembers your home directory. So let's go ahead and try that one out. So let's, I think I zoomed in too far with this one. Let me zoom out a little bit. So echo, we want the home variable. Remember, all variables have to start with a $, otherwise it'll just put the letters on the screen and we can see the location of my home directory. If I log off and log on as Jeff, that will be /home/Jeff. Let's continue with the next lab. So the next lab, we're beginning to navigate around and typing pwd to see where we are. So here, we're changing directory right to the root. So that's one important thing we should be doing. So cd / takes us right to the root. Again, where's it going to take us? It is going to take us to the top of the tree, or this location that you see right there. And let's take a look. If I type ls, there are different directories than what we see in the home directory, but I can easily return to my home directory by typing cd home. Now if I type ls, I see the system admin home directory. I can return to my home directory by typing change directory again, sys admin, and press enter. And now when I type ls, I'm back in my original home directory. So we'll continue to the next lab. Okay, so again, we're navigating around and typing pwd. And here it looks like we're going to the home directory, something that we just did. And now look at this, a quick way to go back to your home directory. So I think we saw this one earlier. The tilde again represents our home directory. So I'll just remind you about that. Let's go anywhere. Let's go to bin. Okay, so I'm going to type pwd. You can see we're in the bin directory. And to go back to the home directory, change directory tilde. and pwd, and we can see that we have returned back to our home directory. So it's not a difficult chapter. A lot of the concepts we're already familiar with it, and we should get it all finished today. Now look at this. We are echoing out the home directory for different users. So echo out tilde. Remember, tilde means the home directory. Echo out tilde for different users. For the system admin, for the root user, we haven't really talked about users yet, but that's the user, mail, and so on. So, let me repeat that. Echo out, starting from my home directory, these various other locations, like where does my mail go, for instance? My mail will go to this location right here. And then in 727, we can get error messages sometimes when we do these things. In this case, we get a permission denied because we're not allowed in that location, and we're going to be looking at how to set permissions, how to allow and prevent users from accessing different locations in the Linux system. So let's go ahead and look at this error message. So I'm going to try to access the same place, change directory, and I want the home directory for the super user, ROOT, and there is the permission denied message. In the next lab, we're going to USR. This is where we have programs installed in Linux. So try to find the equivalent location in Windows. The same location in Windows would be Program Files or Program Files 86. So when you download programs and install them in Windows, that's where the files are kept. In Linux, they're kept in the USR directory. Let's go on to the next step. Again, just more navigation. And here in this step, we're discussing the difference between absolute and relative path names. It's absolute when it starts with a /. It specifies the full location, and everything else is relative. And then finally in 721, we are navigating another location and taking a look at what's there. Now here we're using ... means go up one directory. Okay, so let's take a look at this command. So let's clear the screen. Okay, and let's see, where are we currently located? I'm going to type pwd. Okay, so I'm in system admin. Let's do cd ... Now let's type pwd. I went up one directory. Let's type cd ... again. Now don't forget to put a space in there. Okay, so we'll do that again. Type pwd, and now I see I'm right at the top. To return to my home directory, cd tilde, or as a little trick, just cd. And we are now in the home directory. And then in the next lab, we're playing around with it. Go up one directory and then go down. Okay, so I'm going to try that right now. So if I look at the top of the tree, I see there's a directory called MNT. Let me see if I can access that. Or better, instead of MNT, etc. I'm going to try to access that directory now. So I'm going to type change directory. Since I'm in my home directory right here, I have to go up two directories, cd ... again, and then from the very top, looking down from the root, I can go into my etc. So I was here, I'm going to go up one, up again, and then down into etc. So let's try that out. etc. And if you're not convinced, just type print working directory, and you can see we're currently inside the etc. Directory.